Galilee, Jewish Mummy, Angus, Innes, Carthel.
Thank you. Better wait for the right. Hold on, darling. Oh, look, I discovered something. This is a seat.
We need in action.
It's not just seats. How wonderful.
Oh, the
Hold on, this.
Hold on for a second. You hold on. You want to sit up here, darling? Here, let me see what you sit up here. Go, my son. It's nice. Nice. Yes, it's nice. I did sometimes. Ticket, I don't know my God.
Carthel, Angus.
Smile.
From Turkey or somewhere else in the area. If or some Christian would like to point out that look here, the rich Jewish community own this synagogue. If you are looking far behind, you'll see between the place we are now and the Greek church I've mentioned before there is also small houses, small ruins of stones, and according to what we know now, this has been the place of the poor fisher village. So the first Christian would like to say, look here, the rich Jewish community on one hand and the poor fisher village on the other hand. And this was the main reason why the community in this area, in this village, decided to adopt the Christian theory. but we know now for sure that the synagogue is from the 4th century, so it don't have any connection with the Jews at this time. So let's go this way, and there I'll give the place in German before or opposite the agricultural equipment there. House all the stone, which is actually not from this area. You see here's the pillars, and also it was very, very high, and it's very impressive. So you can imagine that in the 2nd, 3rd or 4th century, although it was here, was very impressive, and the Jewish community who was actually here was a very rich one. The only question which are involved, if you know something about Judaism, you know that while people are praying, they are normally praying towards Jerusalem. And the problem involved here is, look here, if the people were entering the synagogue from this side, and this is south, and everybody knows that Jerusalem is in the south. So how does it happen that people who are entering the synagogue and they are praying towards the north? It's not logical. So we have found a solution. It's not a solution now, it's for sure, and I'll show you why we think it's the real theory. The people in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th century used to bring the holy shrine on wheels. So once they were entering also from the main entrance to the area, to the synagogue, they brought up the whole community, the total community was here. They brought this holy shrine with the Torah, with the holy books on wheels to the entrance, through the entrance to a place not far away from the entrance. The people were sitting facing the south, and they were praying towards the south. How did we came to this conclusion? I'll show you in one of the sculptures which we'll see later on. Another thing which I'd like to tell you is that the women department was on the 2nd floor, and before leaving and translating this in German, I would recommend you, if you can go onto the steps there and try to look behind the wall here. If you're looking behind the wall, you see about 20 meters black stones, very, very low. And this black stone actually demonstrates the poor fishermen who are living here in this area. So you can understand the people living there have the possibility to go directly to the sea, to get fish, to fish, and to act there according to their what they would like to do. So this is also the place where the first four of the first apostles joined Jesus Christ, and this is one of the places where we're talking about his activities in his youth. Afterwards, on the way back, leaving the area, I'll show you also the tapcha, where the miracle of bread and fish, in which Jesus is made from 2 fishes and 5 breads, or it's opposite, 5 fishes and 2 breads. So enough bread and fishes for the whole participant there. So if you would like to go, you can have a look there on the other side, and you can see the poor small houses belonging to the poor fishermen. Also wir befinden uns jetzt in einer Synagoge.
Michael, you see, if you look carefully, the red diagram or picture shows you the 1st century BC, which is the time of St. Peter or his family. So that's where the simple
This is the Sea of Galilee from the Mount of Beatitudes. Looking across again to Tiberias, Capernaum's along the coast there. The Italian church have built a church here, 1937. Italian church, we're just about to enter on the Mount of Beatitudes. Up there, within us. There's the boys going down there. Sea of Galilee in the background. job for the BBC.
Salty water. The whole area of the Sea of Galilee is actually in a tectonal area, and there are still small springs in the sea itself which contain salty water. So you will see, I'll show you later on also, some of those pipes, of those tunnels, which are practically transferring the salty water or the salty water from the deep in the sea to the mountains outside. The water are actually going back to the sea once more, but the salt is staying in the mountain. So those tunnels now on the left side of the coach contains, let's say, salty water. Look here, the Lake of Galilee is actually the only sweet water lake in Israel, so we need the water. And we are using the water of this lake for drinking, industry and agriculture. And if the content of salt is too high, we can't use it. So what we are doing, we are transferring the salty water into the mountain, and afterwards some of the rest of it are transferred to all other parts of the country. Actually, these are the water from the Sea of Galilee are used all over the country as drink water for agriculture and for the industry. And this is the only sweet water source we have. The area is very fertile, but as you can see, lots of fruits of trees are planted here, oranges, bananas, citrus fruits, avocados, guayabas, etc. Also wenn Sie die Tunnel links sehen, meine Damen und Herren, die beinhalten salzhaltiges Wasser. Also die ganze See, das ganze...
Yeah, gotta get them.
Jordan River. You know the Jordan River is leaving the Sea of Galilee about 500 meters from now, and we'll stop, our next stop will be on the Jordan, on the river, and it's an official site which is used sometimes by Christians coming to the Holy Land and they would like to baptize themselves. So they're doing it here on the one side of the Jordan River. We'll stop here for, let's say, 10 minutes time, and we are parking, let's say, on the river. You can go inside, you can use the restrooms there, and if you'd like to drink something, you have the possibility also to drink something, and we are leaving at about 20 minutes to 5 o'clock. Also, meine Damen und Herren, wir befinden uns jetzt in der Taufstelle auf dem Jordan.
This is the baptismal place in River Jordan. Careful. Ines has just had a sleep.
Galilee, and what you can see are actually the mountains, the southern part of the Golan Heights, which now can be seen on the other side of the lake. And in front of it, let's say, direction to the south, you have the mountains of the so-called Gilad, which are part of Transjordan. Now we are going to people on the right side have now the possibility to look and you see the southern part of the Golan Heights. Now on the right side, in a few seconds we'll turn once more to the left. So now the people on the right, you see the southern edge of the Sea of Galilee, you see the Golan Heights. And on the other side behind us, the mountains which are going on, which continues are the mountains of the Gilad, which are part of Transjordan. If you're looking now to the right, you can see very clearly the southern part of the Golan Heights and the southern part of the Sea of Galilee. Aber wenn Sie rechts gucken, können Sie jetzt sehen den südlichen Teil von dem See Genezareth und Sie sehen auch die Berge dahinter, sind die Berge von den Golanhöhen, also der südlichen Teil von den Golanhöhen. Wenn Sie ganz tief sehen, also jetzt gerade rechts, können Sie eine Tal sehen, dort fließt ein weiterer Fluss, der Yarmuk heißt, und die nächste Gebirgsreihe ist die Gebirgsreihe, die Gilad heißt, und die gehört zu Transjordanien. Jetzt können Sie nochmal das gleiche sehen vom links aus, und unten sehen Sie die fruchtbare Gegend von dem nördlichen Teil von dem Jordantal. On the left side you see the very fertile area of the Jordan Valley, with lots of kibbutzim in the center of it. The whole area is very green one, it's very fertile one. And also, if I talk about the area, it's one of the most popular areas in Israel, although the climate here is very, very hot one, and we are reaching a temperature of about 40-42 centigrades in summertime. That means more than 100 centigrades, or more than 100 Fahrenheit. Also die klimatischen Bedingungen hier sind nicht sehr einfach, nicht sehr leicht. Also die Temperatur hier erreicht gelegentlich.
They obviously take it here as well.
2,500 years ago was Jerusalem. And why? You should realize that Jerusalem, May 1948, was under a very heavy siege. Jerusalem, the holy city for Muslims, for Christians, for Jews, and our eternal city. And the Arabs were planning to try to take over Jerusalem at the beginning of the war, but by what we call a pincer movement. The Egyptian forces were trying to press on Jerusalem from the south, and they got lucky, and they came until what is today the developed city of Bet Shemesh, until here before the withdrawal. The Arab Legion and the Arab gang were pressing on Jerusalem from the east and from the north. Now, what happens that the main road, children, please sit down and be quiet. You will be served. Don't worry. The main road to Jerusalem was cut off, was totally blocked. So wasn't any way to carry supply and ammunition to Jerusalem, and from total population of 600,000 Jews that were living at that time in Israel, 100,000 Jews were living in Jerusalem at that time. Food situation, supply situation, ammunition situation was very bad, and wasn't actually any way to carry supply to Jerusalem. During December 48, Road of Courage, Road of Hero was open. Road of Courage was. This is a 6-kilometer piece of road that starts here on the junction you just passed on your way to Tzorah. We called it Samson Junction. And the idea of settling down at the top of the hill was to guard, to control this piece of road and the road that goes from Ramle to Jerusalem. 3 kibbutzim were founded at that time. One of them is our kibbutz Zorah. The other one is Arel, named after the brigade that fought most of the battles to keep this narrow corridor to Jerusalem open. Please, smoking is not allowed, totally not allowed here. And the third one, Mishmar David, named after the American volunteer David Marcus, who got killed here by an accident here nearby on Abu Ghosh. These were the 3 kibbutzim that were founded at that time in order to control this only open way to Jerusalem. 2 years later, we have moved over here in order to be close to our fields, which are in this valley, what we call the Valley of Samson and Delilah, where 2,500 years ago, whatever happens, if you remember the story about Samson and the lions, Samson and the foxes, and of course Samson in all his love affairs, it took place here in this valley. And we have moved over here. This is a very typical picture from 1950, where you hardly can see a tree or even a bush on the hills above us. This is the first cottage of our kibbutz after moving from the top of the hill over here. And this is an enlarging of this first cottage, and you can realize that water were brought by tankers for a period of more than a year at the beginning. Later we will see the difference between this picture and what happens now on these hills. Now, with your permission, we will return 2,500 years. And you know that in this area, the tribe of Dan has originally settled down here. When after Joshua entered Israel, the tribe of Dan have settled down in this area. His brother Judah have settled down opposite to us, toward Jerusalem and the Jordan River. And the Philistines were here nearby, 45 minutes walking by feet. Actually, their excavated capital, Timnah, is now within the center of our fields. Now, the names of the biblical settlements tells us, let's say, a few secrets of this area and what's so typical to this area. Tzo'ah, the meaning of the name Tzo'ah in ancient Egyptian language means the mountain of the Egyptian god of the sun who named Ra. Tzo'ah, mountain god Ra. Beit Shemesh, in direct translation, is the house of the sun. Beit Shemesh. Shemesh in Hebrew is sun. Shimshon, Samson. Shimshon in Hebrew derives from the Hebrew root Shemesh, sun. Shemesh, sun. And Eshtaol, fire of hell, also direct translation. Actually, all existed settlements today. So you can see a positive correlation between these names and the sun, heat, and this is really true. We have a very long and a very hot summer with a very short winter and less than 400 millimeters of rain, which is something around 15 inches of rain. So the tribe of Dan, after realizing the climate conditions, and what you can see here I haven't mentioned to you what's so typical to our area is the chalky limey soil that we cultivate in our valley. It's been represented by the white color here at the top of the hill. After realizing that climate condition, lack of water, bad soil, and the political conditions the Philistines were pressing on him from the west, have simply moved to him. And they have moved to the north, next to the resources, very close to the resources of the Jordan River, to the Dan Hatzbani near, where they found plenty water and very good land. And here actually starts our story, because the conditions haven't changed basically since then. And we will jump back to the early 50s in Israel, when total population of 600,000 Jews absorbed within 5 years 1 million Jews from all over the world. If you remember probably the headlines that happens during the 60s in the state when the United States decided to absorb 20,000 Vietnamese. A country of 200 million people decided to absorb 20,000 people, and this had made headlines. How can we absorb 20,000 Vietnamese? And here we have tripled our population within 5 years. A big part of them survivors of the European Holocaust, a big portion of them from the Oriental countries around us, Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria, Libya, Yemen, Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, etc. A young, weak state wasn't able to offer jobs to suddenly all million people. So what Israeli authorities has done, I think they have simply copied what Roosevelt has done during the 30s in the state, initiating works. And the main job was planting trees, planting trees, planting trees. These people were very frustrated with this job. But now looking back to the outcome, we are all happy with it. Anyhow, if you will be told by a guy that this and this is the natural forest of Israel, you should realize that 95% of what is supposed to be the natural forest of Israel is an outcome of these years. So at the same time, those new immigrants have started to build their new city, the city of Bet Shemesh. And we have moved, you can see, from the top of the hill where we were able to control Samson Junction, Road of Hero, over here in order to be close to our fields, which are in the valleys. And among all the complicated problems these people have faced at the beginning, we on Torah, we have faced one minor problem. The problem was that the sewage water of the developed city, of the new city Bet Shemesh, ran down through the dry waterway, what we call Wadi, directly into our field. I speak about domestic sewage water. So let's minimize it and say that we were not happy with this gift at the